but genuinely, hand on heart, this is the first time I've ever felt like I might never drive anything this special ever again. Hey guys, it seems like more recently, every time I've stood here and said hello, the car that I've stood next to has got progressively more ridiculous. Pinch yourself moment coming up. Welcome back to CMD and the Porsche 718 Cayman GT4. This car has been lent to me by the all-round legend that is Paul Stevens. If you think you recognise that name, if you've watched the channel before, you will do. More recently, I've spent time with Paul's GR Yaris, including a trip to Suspension Secrets, and only last week had the keys to his BMW 1M. If you're new to CMD, we've been set up as a YouTube channel with a difference. All the revenue we generate from videos just like the one you're watching right now, all goes into a designated bank account. All of those funds are being donated to local and national charities. So if you like what you see, hit that like button, give me a subscribe, tell your friends. So let's not hang around too long ogling this thing too much. Very easy to do. I mean, let's hit some B-roll and go for a drive. 1, 2, 3. Get this. Now when I hear a company like Porsche is going to make a loss on a certain car, I've got to admit that immediately piques my interest. When you take into consideration that car is filled with components like large displacement naturally aspirated engines and essentially the front end of the previous 911 GT3, anyone would pay attention, wouldn't they? A bit like the 1M I've quite literally just come out of. There's an opportunity for this car to be more than the sum of its parts. And it's an interesting price point, isn't it? Because for the price of one of these, you could go into a base 911. But this, as a raw GT product, certainly looks like a compelling option. Potentially a natural transition for me. I've been in my M2 for approaching 3 years now, and I love that thing to bits, but I have seen lots of people go from M2, M3, M4 into Porsches. Some of those people have never left the brand since. Others have hopped straight back into M2s, M3s, M4s. So evidence would dictate that this is all about preference and potentially wallet size. Just very briefly want to talk you through the spec on this particular GT4. Like all of Paul's cars, it is loaded from the factory. Very tastefully spec'd with a lot of must-have items on it for the ultimate collector's car. It's got carbon bucket seats. I mean, they speak for themselves. Utterly stunning, immensely comfortable considering they are very, very lightweight, very, very stiff, and extremely pretty. And I think if you're going to have a Cayman GT4 that is going to be used as it was intended, and by that I mean as a track tool, then you've got to have the carbons. If you're going to daily the car, I don't think I'd have the carbon seats, despite how sexy they are. Carbon ceramic brakes, I mean, they're phenomenal. They're very often on, and you can stamp on the pedal, and they have got phenomenal braking power. Again, this being spec'd for track, completely understand it. If I was going to road the car and daily it, I would go with the steels. Having experienced the steels more recently, they are extremely capable anyway. Carbon ceramics are obviously very expensive to replace. It's got the extended race tech interior, so there's lots more Alcantara and carbon all over the cabin, including glove boxes. Even the steering column is leather. Bose sound system is alright, it's a good system. I've not really used it, to be honest, I've been busy doing this. And a manual gearbox. Obviously they do PDK in this car now. I'll let my smile do the talking on that one. Then aftermarket, again, the owner, Paul, true to form, has fitted a JCR titanium exhaust, which is a must, and had the card PPF'd for the abuse he's going to give it. Special. And on that note, let's discuss the drive. So mid-engined, rear-wheel drive, 400 brake horsepower, manual gearbox. You'd imagine it's all good news. And on the whole, you'd be absolutely right. Having taken time to get to know the car, what I'm about to say might sound like a silly statement, bearing in mind that noise. This car isn't necessarily about flat out speed. It's quick, it really is. But to get it where you want it, you've really got to wring its neck. Anywhere above 4,000 revs, and it will rev out all the way to 8,000. So there's lots to play with. But you've got to really work the manual box to extract the maximum from it. Case in point. What it's really about, and where it really excels, is carrying speed, which it does better than anything I've ever driven. That weight distribution, the handling, just makes this an all-out monster of a B-road blaster. But let's be fair, you can see its pedigree and how it's made for the track, because absolutely mental. A few standout points for me, beyond the obvious, because I think engine, gearbox, I can see why people have whinged about the gearbox and the gearing being quite long in this and the GTS as an example. The reality is there's such a long rev range in a naturally aspirated engine. It allows you to be both lazy, case in point now, I should have gone down, but the car's punched me out of there from 3,000 revs, or to be engaged, and so you get both options. So I quite like the long gearing, unpopular opinion admittedly. Seating position is standout for me. I've never sat in a road car that's so perfectly placed. Steering column, pedals, seat, nice and low, I've got good visibility, I'm comfortable. And the steering. Paul's fitted this car in particular with PS4Ss, which is a good shout based on the work it'll do in different seasons, I would imagine. And that coupled with just this phenomenal steering rack, which is like nothing else I've ever experienced. It's really not. It's so intuitive for something that's electrically power steered. I know exactly what's going on with my front end all the time. At no stage have I thought, oh, that feels a bit vague. You know, not on the limit. In fact, quite the opposite, on the limit. It can cruise. You know, you can short shift it like this. Turn that already very loud aftermarket exhaust down a bit. Keep it under 2,000 revs and potter. I'd be interested to try a PDK because this is so track focused, and the box is another level of engagement, and the gear shifter is beautifully placed. It's got great reach, great throw. It's literally, you find yourself reaching down for that for no reason other than you can, and that you get to change gear, because it's just one of those very nice things to do in a car. Listen to that. How do you summarise? I think to try and summarise, which is quite difficult to do, every time I've got in this car, without exception, over the space of a week, it has felt very special. I've been approached by people who want to talk about it. I've had people wind the windows down at the lights. It's an event, and it makes you feel like a Porsche should. And in an age of cars getting bigger and inevitably electric and turbocharged, you know, Porsches now are going that way. They have to. I can't help but feel that this is a dying breed and a bit of a sweet spot in the range. The 911 is ultimately the one, isn't it? But when you've got a car that is smaller, mid-engined, naturally aspirated, manual gearbox, doesn't feel out of place on a British B road, and drives like this, oh, it just makes so much sense in a time when these cars are going to become extinct. And we have got to acknowledge that, haven't we? At some point, very soon, most likely, they won't make cars like this anymore. And that's the shame. This is one of those videos that I've filmed personally that almost feels like I'll never do the car justice. I've been very fortunate, especially over the last couple of months, but overall, to have lots of different driving experiences in lots of different cars. But genuinely, hand on heart, this is the first time I've ever felt like I might never drive anything this special ever again. It's me. Oh yeah. Just before I sign off, guys, I need to say a huge thank you. Paul Stevens, the owner of this GT4, the BMW M1, the GR Yaris. I may as well have created a playlist called Stealing Paul's Cars, because essentially that is what I've done. And Paul has very, very kindly, quite simply, thrown me the key to all three of those and told me to bugger off and enjoy myself. Every car he has handed to me has been collectible, appreciating, and of value. I mean, that tells you what sort of a all-round top bloke he is. So Paul, thank you from the bottom of my heart, genuinely. Without people like Paul supporting this channel, You know, videos like this obviously don't get made in an ever-increasing difficult environment for a small YouTube channel. So thank you. The final thank you goes to you guys for tuning in. I hope I've done the car justice. I promise you I've tried my hardest. And if you enjoyed what you've watched, please remember to hit that like button, give us a subscribe, maybe share the video somewhere, tell your friends. It all helps. For now, I've got a very nice, very well planned half an hour B-road blast home.